I read this book called Split, and it begins as a background letting you know that the father's a judge, and it doesn't give much background on the wife. And then there's older brother Christian and younger brother Jace. Christian had been kicked out like a long time ago and had been severely abused as a child. He is living in New Mexico, Albuquerque, and is in med school. Jace is a sophomore in high school, and it starts off with the fact that Jace is getting older and he starts to remember how Christian used to take things when he got abused. And that was stepping in between his mother and his father to prevent his mother from getting abused so badly. So that's what he does, is he steps in between and takes the beating from his father as opposed to his mother. And that's when things get really ugly between Jace and his father. They begin to fight all the time. Jace starts to get very badly abused, and soon enough his dad tells him to get out and to not come back. So Jace leaves with his face all beat up, he's bleeding, he only has $3.84, and now he has this big secret on his chest. So his mom ends up forwarding him anonymously his older brother's address. So now Jace heads towards his brother. He just randomly shows up. His brother has no idea that he's coming, and he shows up, and things are really awkward at first. They don't really know how to bond and like create a good sibling relationship because of what they've been through and the fact that they're so many years apart. Like, being in med school and being a sophomore in high school are very different in age. And Christian has this girlfriend that, come to find out, knows nothing about the fact that Christian had been abused and all this stuff. And Christian is living in a one-bedroom apartment, and Jace is having to sleep on the couch. The girlfriend Miriam works at the school that Jace will now attend, and Jace and Christian have a very different perspective on how things went. Jace looks at it as Christian left him, and Christian left him to be abused, and that he just left him behind and left him stranded. Christian looks at it as, when he got kicked out and he left, that Jace wasn't being abused then, and so he didn't figure that his father would come to abuse Jace as well. Because before he left, it seemed as if Christian and mom were buddy-buddy, and that Jace and dad were buddy-buddy. But what Christian didn't realize is the amount of time that he's been gone. It had been 5 or 6 years that he had been gone until Jace showed up with all the news that he had. And Jace does play soccer and is really good at soccer. And Christian used to be a very good runner. That was one of the very few good memories that Jace had of his older brother. And so that's where they bonded. They decided that they were gonna create a schedule and wake up at a certain time every single morning and go on a run. Christian looked at it as he was helping his brother get runner's high and be able to find a love for running and get himself in more shape as a soccer player. Jace looked at it as he wanted his older brother to find the love for running that he once had, because before he had left, his goal was to be able to run in the Boston Marathon. And when he left, that dream just tanked, because it was a marathon that is broadcasted on TV and Christian feared that if he was on TV, there's a possible way that his dad would watch the video and see him on television and track him down, because Christian's whole goal was to leave, finish med school, become a doctor, and live his life happily with never seeing or talking to his father ever again. And both boys had the mindset that they needed to get their mom out of the house. And from the very little speaking terms that Jace and his mom had been on since Jace left, she made it out to seem that she was ready to go and ready to escape. She just needed a way to be able to run. And so Jace and Christian go on this very long road trip back to Illinois from New Mexico. And they get there, and the whole plan was that they were going to beat his dad up and be able to sneak his mom away and get her back to New Mexico without him knowing where they went. And when they show up, it come to find out that mom had no intention of leaving, and she's not strong enough to be able to just get up and leave. And so, heartbroken and disappointed, the boys go back and they continue on with their life. The boys did go through some really rough patches with trying to decide how they were going to do things and how Jace was going to follow Christian's rules. Two of which being that he could not call or text his parents, he could not call home, he couldn't send the address so anyone knew where he lived. He wanted that to stay concealed, and just he wanted to start all over. And what he didn't realize is that he's not going to be able to start over if he's just going to keep arm's length away from everyone. He didn't let anyone in. He thought that he was his dad. Both boys did. They thought that if his dad was that way, then they were that way, and that's just not how it is. Yes, Christian may have some of the tendencies that his father did, but he's not his father. And in order for him to have any sort of healthy or good relationship or even friendship with anyone, he's going to have to let people in, because he just doesn't realize that things can't just be one way. Someone can't give him all the love and support and him give nothing back just because he's scared. And Jace understood that, and that's what he was trying to do. He was just trying to start over. But one of his past girlfriends that he had had in Chicago, they had a very good relationship. He loved her so much, but they had some sort of argument, and Jace's anger problems are very severe, and he obviously got that from his dad, and he ended up hitting her. And he just couldn't believe himself. He was devastated. He didn't even want to talk to her ever again. He just wanted to leave and never come back because he thought that that prevented less hurt. His girlfriend wanted him to reply and wanted to talk to him and wanted to talk it through and just wanted to know why and all this stuff, and never got a reply. And once Jace had already fled and moved to Albuquerque, she decided to file charges. And the only reason he found out was because his mom had emailed him. And the good thing is that he was already gone and had already fled before the charges had been filed. And when his brother does find out, he kicks him out. But luckily Miriam, knowing now what they all went through and being able to comprehend the fact that Jace is not just a troublemaker teenager and all his drama was just teenage related, and realized that like both him and Christian had gone through such bad times at home and they had been abused so badly and were just hurt so badly, that she took Jace in. And after time goes on and they have their jobs and they're able to make money, Jace is working at the bookstore and Christian's finishing up med school, they are able to move into somewhere a lot bigger for all three of them, and they end up working out all their problems and they go on with their life happily.